Hello and welcome, everyone. I have a new pen and ink to share with you all. So this is the Tatcha Ruri ink. It's a beautiful deep blue and just the box, the packaging is so gorgeous on this Tatcha. I really like Tatcha inks. I like their colors, I like how they perform, I love their boxes, and I love their bottles, and I love their Bakelite lids. So it's just all those little things put together makes for a really wonderful experience. As you can see, I spilled it all over my hand. It has a nice purple undertone. So the pen that I have it inked in is this Laban. This is the box. I've already taken it out and inked it, but you can see what it comes with, a little bookmark and a packet of information, and then a cartridge converter. It doesn't come with a cartridge, which I actually really appreciate. So often these pens do come with cartridges that are I've had bad experiences with the ink quality, and so I usually don't even use them, and it just feels like a big waste. So I appreciate that they didn't put in a cartridge. Although I recognize that for some people having that instant ink, because maybe they don't have bottled ink lying around, is really helpful. Anyways, I purchased these two things off of Yoseka Stationery, and it came with a lot of stickers. It was really fun to open up this box and have a little handwritten note and all these special little stickers to represent where they are located. And here, at last, is the pen. We will get to a writing sample. I just wanted to showcase it and compare it to some of my other fountain pens. Now, this is a Sheaffer Balance oversized pen that's from the 1920s. And then this is the Parker Senior Duofold, also from the 1920s. And they all have a very similar aesthetic. The older two are made of a celluloid. The Laban is a newer resin. I don't know what the differences are, to be honest, in how they're produced and how they're made, but they look a lot alike, and that's partly why I was drawn to this pen. It also has a two-toned nib, which I am a sucker for. I love two-toned nibs so much. It is a steel nib. This one in particular is extra fine, but it is gold and iridium plated, and it's just a stunning nib. Here is the sizable cartridge converter. I really like this one. It's well made and feels like it has a good ink capacity for a cartridge. Now, this is an issue that I've already had resolved, and I'll share with you a little update at the very end of this video. But basically, the body has a spring in the back to help hold the cartridge or the cartridge converter in place. But that spring doesn't always line up perfectly with the piston knob, and so it ends up turning the knob when you screw the body on or off, and then you lose all of your ink. And at this point, I hadn't been able to do a complete fill because most of the ink gets squirted out. But again, that's resolved, and I'll go into more detail at the end of this video. I often get stuck in a rut where I know the pens that I like, I know it works for me, and so when I buy a new pen, I tend to gravitate towards those same pens. Like I'll buy a different color of a Sailor or a different material of Kavecos, and so on and so forth, just because they're kind of like a comfort zone. And I get a little bit scared about taking a chance and trying a new company. And even though I had heard of them from Yoseka Stationery, they've actually talked about them on their channel before, and they seem like really great pens, I just wasn't ready to take that chance. Luckily, I have a friend that just received one for her birthday, and I got to try it out in person and was really blown away by how this pen wrote and how it felt on paper. And I have to say, this nib is really, really smooth. It's a beautiful writer, and for a steel nib, it actually has some springiness. not flex, springiness, where it feels like it bounces a little bit on the page, which I kind of correlate more to a gold nib. So it's not like a super stiff steel nib that I tend to think of steel nibs as. I feel like I'm not explaining things very well, but it's springy and it feels really nice, and I appreciate that a whole lot. Now, it does have some hard starts every once in a while. It definitely, when uncapped and not writing for a long time, it sometimes dries out and it takes like a moment to get the flow going again. And occasionally it will not write. You'll see that actually in this video a little bit later on. It might be due to over polishing. Maybe it's a little bit of baby's bottom. I don't know. I haven't looked at it under a jeweler's loupe. And I suspect if I put it to micro mesh, I could easily fix this issue, and then it wouldn't be a problem at all. Here's a closer look at the ink with my lovely little The Quick Brown Fox Jumps Over the Lazy Dog stamp. And I always capitalize quick because I love capital Qs. Cursive capital Qs are one of my favorite letters in the cursive alphabet, and it's very rare that I get an opportunity to use them. So I tend to capitalize quick. Oh, and here you can see where there's a little bit of a hard start. I think this particular occasion was more due to the nib drying out a little bit before I started writing with it, but it does happen mid-sentence. But all in all, I really like this pen. I'm really glad that I have it, and I appreciate you all for watching. So now on to the quick update. So first of all, I've spent a couple of days now writing with it, and it's just a really pleasant experience. It's a very good pen. It feels really nice to hold. It's super classy and classic, and yeah, it's really pleasant to write with. Aside from the occasional hard start, which isn't ideal, but I can tolerate it. And actually, I haven't put it to micro mesh yet, and that might very well solve the problem. But all in all, I really like this pen. I'm super grateful that I have it, and I think it will be a great writer. Also, I heard back from Yoseka in regards to the filling issue with the object that was lodged in the back that was turning the piston knob and making all of the ink in the cartridge converter squirt out. Well, I heard back and they said that it was a known issue. They were in contact with Laban trying to come up with a better solution. You can see my converter is now full of ink and there is no longer a problem when I close it. So happy to report that. Basically, it is a spring that the design of it is to prevent the cartridge or the converter from popping out in the barrel. But it doesn't always work. It doesn't always function as it's intended. And so they suggested just taking it out, which at first was a little bit tricky until I realized I had a crochet hook. And that made all the difference, and I was able to pop the spring out, and voila, this pen is working just perfectly. So that is my update. Thank you again for watching this. I will see you all in another video.